Good evening, everyone. You're very welcome to Inside Line Racing for round number 6 of ILR6 here at the Monaco Grand Prix. And as you can see, we are set for a very interesting race. Well, certainly a qualifying session indeed. As you can see, the wet conditions are a factor here at the Principality in Monte Carlo. So a very interesting qualifying session. Interesting 16 minutes lie ahead for these drivers as they try and twist and turn their way through the streets of Monaco, which is a challenge in itself in the dry, let alone the wet. So we shall see how that goes in the next 15 minutes, and then we'll see then how the race unfolds after that. Of course, unclear what the weather will be at this time, but we'll go through the standings very quickly just before we kick things off here. Smudge, who's now a full-time driver, leading the way on 60 points, ahead of Antatak in second on 48 points, and 49 points. Just 2 points behind him is Alex in third in the Haas, who's on 47 points, and even just behind that is Danskar on 43 points. So it's quite close at the top. And just in the constructors battle then, it is equally close. On 64 points is McLaren, Force India on second on 59 points, as well as Haas, and even Ferrari, a three-way tie for second on 59 points apiece then. And then on 53 points, just behind that, is the Red Bull gang. So difficult to know what to expect out of this one. Monaco is one of those races where kind of everyone's bunched together for the first few laps and kind of everything spreads out. It's a race of endurance, it's a race of concentration and skill. It's not for the faint-hearted, and I think we'll see lots of retirements today over the course of the 39 lap Grand Prix. But before all that is qualifying, and I think Dogs is the first one who's going to set representative time here in the intermediate conditions. As he comes across the line, what can he set? He sets at 125.3, so that kind of shows you where things are at the moment. I don't think we'll be seeing dry conditions anytime soon, even if the rain does lighten up. Smudge then quickly knocks that off with a 25 flat, so they'll be coming in thick and fast now these laps. There's Morris Minor then pops himself into third, and same Rampage then displaces him immediately. So already you can see some damages. Mr. Crumpet is nursing front wing damage, so expect to see a few bits and bobs of that today. Front wing damages. I hope people brought plenty of wings because they will need them. And oh, there's a yellow flag, and you can just see there, that is Crazy Flying Rob. He is facing the wrong way round in the Rascast corner there. How is even, that's an interesting accident. Even how is it even one even face the wrong way like that with three wheels in the car? So lots of laps ruined as a result of that. The good thing with Monaco is that it's not a track that is heavy on fuel or ERS, even in the dry, so these guys can just keep going and going. As long as they have the right amount of fuel in the car, they can just keep doing laps, and they should be in a good position. Sometimes that's the best way to tackle the wet. Oh, and there goes Mr. Crumpet without a front wing into the Nico Rosberg corner. Of course, it is Mirabeau, and he's taken off the escape road, but very difficult to get yourself out of that one. Looks like he has navigated it, so, and Smudge has just gone quicker to the 23.9. So the Force India has Dogs out of the session. Can we spot a yellow flag anywhere on track? So they're all coming into the pits now, really. As John goes even quicker, 23.8. What can Ant do in response? It's not an improvement, 24.7, 10 slower than his previous lap. So John and Smudge setting the pace early on here. We've already lost Dogs, we've already lost Rob. I suspect we'll lose one or two more before the session is out, with 12 minutes to go. Well, Danskar looks like he's not on a bad lap. It looks like he's got some sort of ERS failure, or that, or a glitch, because there's no way he should be running out of ERS by this stage of the lap. So as he dances across through Anthony Noakes and across the line. So 123.2, which would have been good enough for pole, but it looks like it was invalidated. So Ant getting the way out of the way of, I think that's Alex. No, It was Patter actually who reserves. Oh, and he's hit the wall. Coming out of the tunnel, that's damaged his wing. That'll certainly ruin his lap. Barely squeezing through the Novell chicane. This is obviously a track where, look, the pad versus wheel conversation is one that will always rage on, but none stronger than this track. Of course, if you're on a wheel, there is there is an advantage to be had. Let's not be around the bush. There's an advantage to be had if you are using a wheel instead of a controller. Despite that, it's not an easy track no matter how you approach it, as Patter's actually, despite that, does a 24.8, so it'll be interesting to see what his pace is like if he had a full complement of wing and he's just knocked off the rest of that left hand side. A bit of traffic. Oh, there's two McLarens. I think they are actually desynced, but it's sent Danskar into a wall. His teammate plays, so not exactly the team game happening at McLaren. Look, given how tight and twisty this track is, this is a track. Oh wow, that's massively desynced. Is that 23.2 only registering now? That's right. This lobby is is throwing something. Is throwing some 23.247. His lobby is acting up. So there was an update that came out today. So could be a few side effects of that. Because I know for a fact that I thought that lap was invalid. It was set a minute or two ago, as John has left the session. So let's make sure that everything's okay. Thought maybe a NAS disconnect was coming, but we're still okay for the moment. Johnson's disconnected. Hopefully he can get back in. That's a Toro Rosso of AOR Gizmo. Nursing some wing damage. His teammate Mara Messi climbing up the hill to start a lap. Taking it very, very tentatively through Massenet and then through Casino Square. He's got Force India behind him. Is that Smudge? It is. Smudge is on a lap, so I think this lap for Smudge could probably throw it out the window. And indeed he's backed off, so difficult one there. Like I always say, traffic is such an issue here because this track is so narrow and so short that you're bound to run into issues, as Danskar is at the moment with Mr. Crumpet, who is just really struggling. He could be on a hot lap and it wouldn't even matter. He is really, really struggling, and he is really holding up Danskar, if indeed Danskar is on a lap. And he is, so, and he hasn't backed off either, so want to continue with this one. And backs off on the main straight. Well, that won't do his next lap any good either, so Danskar, though he has provisional pole, that certainly wouldn't have helped him. And Crumpet is going for a lap. He's got a full set of wing this time, so let's see what he can do from 16th. As Mara Messi rounds Raskas and comes through Anthony Nogues. Bearing down the main straight, what can he put in? 27.8 moves on with the 9th place I should say, as Morris Minor retires from the session. Oh, that's why. He's just banged into the barrier at Saint-Devote. Oh, there's a Force India that's gone into a wall as well. That was Smudge. Very, very close there. Oh, there's a spinning Toro Rosso. That's Mara Messi. He's gone round. And Patters, I thought there may be a collision there, and he's got himself a 5-second grid penalty for making that collision with Mara Messi. So not the best start then for Patters. And Mara Messi will not be too pleased about that. Puts the car into low ERS deployment, and will have to come in and get that front wing changed. Just under 8 minutes rather left to go. Oh, Baza's had a very quiet qualifying so far. And moves up to 9th at 25.3. I expected Baza to be a little bit further up than this at the moment. His teammate Murdoch in 6th place at the moment with a 24.8, so not bad lap from the sister Mercedes. See if anyone's close. As Mr. Crumpet still has a set lap time, must have been another invalidation, and that turn 1 looked a bit shady as well, so the wait might go on. He's desperately trying to get a lap in. His teammate hasn't fared too much better either. Again, one of only a few cars not to set a time as of yet. And this is not good for Alex. He's got wing damage. He is in the top 5 of the championship, and he is down in 15th place, yet to set a time. He's going to have to come in and get that wing changed. So Alex definitely on the back foot here in qualifying. And this is not a track you can really afford to be out of position. Overtaking is extremely difficult here, as everyone knows. So the worst thing that you can do for yourself is put yourself in a poor position, and now he's going to go finish this lap despite the wing damage. So I think he just wants to get a time on the board. What time will that be? It's a 26 flash, puts him in 10th place. Just ahead of him in 9th is Bazak. Can this be an improvement? It looks like an improvement, and it is an improvement. 24.4, and bumps himself ahead of his teammate into 6th place. In terms of the top 3, you've got Ant on a lap at the moment. Plays and Danskar, 2 McLarens leading the way, both in the pits. It's looking good from the McLarens early on for a nice boatload of points. But of course, qualifying is one thing, the race is another. Oh, and loses the back end as Patters into the wall. Loses that wing, has to be extremely careful how he navigates this turnaround. There are cars, and you can keep yourself disqualified for facing the wrong way. So his wing is practically gone, but looks like no one else has been affected by that. Not too sure if Smudge might have been affected by that, and he's coming into the pits. So how about we'll go back on board with Ant then as he slides his way through the swimming pool and around Raskas. Oh, and nips the back end of his car off of the barrier of Raskas. That certainly didn't help his time at all. What's going to be? It's going to be a slower lap for sure. 24.3, lost a good chunk of time in that final sector with that little bump. Krumpush did set a lap time in the end. 26.6 puts him in 11th. We'll stay with Ant though as he goes again. Jacko, a few cars now not to set a time, he's in 16th. Just gingerly tiptoeing his way and lets Ant through. It's through Mirabeau, very, very wide. And the run down to Lowe's, slowest corner in F1. Navigates that pretty well. In first gear does Ant. Then through Portier. Back end wanting to step out all the time, but looking like a clean enough lap so far from Ant. Is it quick enough though? As he exits the tunnel and into the Nouvelle chicane. You can bump into a barrier in Raskas. You can also bump it through the chicane as well, the entry. I'm sure we'll see that happen once or twice. Back end always want to step out in the rain as he put down the throttle through a swimming pool. How's the sector 2 time looking? Not too sure. Much cleaner entry and exit through Raskas this time and through Anthony Noakes. This hasn't looked too bad from Ant. What's going to be in terms of lap time? It is provisional pole, a 23 flash from Ant, and that throws down the gauntlet then to the 2 McLarens, one of which is out on track in the form of Plays. Further down the field, Alex is going to come in, replace that wing, and still have a chance to come back out and set one more lap time at the very least. Here are Gizmos collecting into a McLaren, I believe that is Murdoch. Both McLarens now beginning their out laps. Where is Plays? Because I believe he is on a hot lap. Tiptoeing his way through sector 2. I'm not sure if he's actually on a lap or just erring on the side of caution. We shall find out. I think he is just getting himself ready for a hot lap. Just make sure. 25 flash from Play, so you'll go again. Enough time for a few more laps, and Mara Messi is out of the session. I'd imagine he's somewhere through, or is it out the tunnel actually? There it is. So on the exit of the tunnel, Mara Messi has collided with the wall. He is out of this qualifying session. We've lost a fair number of cars already, and I suspect there'll be 1 or 2 more to come before we finish up here. And we are on our final rounds really of qualifying. This is it really. Set yourself up. Inters don't really wear too much around this track. Get your fuel right and just bang in laps until that checker flag drops. That's Plays is doing. Danskar still hasn't left the pits yet, so he wants to leave soon if he wants to set another lap. Or is he happy enough to sit in P2 for the time being? Can his teammate do anything about it? Rides the bumps over the chicane. Not sure if that will count as an validation. Oh, but he's made contact with the wall. He actually has no front wing, so plays. Sorry, he does have a front wing, but he's definitely missing considerable pieces off of it as he understeers his way through Raskas and through Anthony Notes. This will be it for plays and qualifying. Surely there's no way he can improve from here. And he does, to be fair, 23.2, but he is just off the pace of his teammate as Patters puts in at 23.2. So here we go then, laps are flying in thick and fast. I thought Patters had a bit more pace in him after he did that lap with wing damage. Smudge is coming into the pits, he is out of this session. Just a minute to go, and Ant is completely dry of ERS, so I think he's had his last gasp. He's coming into the pits. So can anyone now touch that 23 flat? Patters has come close. Is there anyone else that can do it? What about Alex? Still touring around a half a front wing. He could have come in and got that changed. I think he's gearing up for one more run. Murdoch on a lap then. Come down with Anthony Noakes then down the finish straight. Moves himself ahead of his teammate once again. These Mercedes have been going back and forth with each other. As Murdoch retires, can Baza get the last lap between the two in qualifying? No. He can't, but it's time for one more lap. And well, that's why Murdoch's retired, and that will ruin Baza's lap completely. He's had to get off the throttle there. And so Baza, I'd be surprised if he's able to move any further. Patters, is he going quick enough for another lap? I think he's run dry of that ERS, so I think he will come into the pits. I guess the only person... Well, can anyone touch Ant now from pole? I'm not sure. The checker flag has now dropped. Who is the first then to come across the line? I think it will be Alex, I think, who was toured around that wing damage for a lot of this final stint of qualifying. Can he improve on his 9th place? Can he split those Mercedes or even go a few better? Tiptoeing his way through the swimming pool. Anti-lock brakes, making it difficult in the wet, but fair play for running them, and he is coming in. Oh, look at Baza, he is absolutely pushing maybe a little bit too much, really sliding his way in the exit swimming pool. And I think he has called it a day. Jacko looks like he'd be the last one to set time. I think he's got a good chance of improving if this lap has been any good. A 26 flash does not improve his 12th place. The Ferrari's not in the most fantastic position for this Monaco Grand Prix, but you have to say the man with the best seat in the house is the pole sitter in this Ant attack. An interesting qualifying session to say the least in the race. I think we'll throw up a lot more surprises than that. This Anti-Attack on pole position ahead of Patters, who's got 5th place grid penalty for a collision with Mara Messi. That moved Danskar ahead of him. He's in 3rd, Plays in 4th, John 5th, Smudge 6th, Murdoch 7th, Baza 8th, Alex 9th, Dogs 10th, Gizmo 11th, Jacko 12th, Crumpet 13th, Mara Messi 14th, Insane Rampage 15th, Morris Mara 16th, and Crazy Flying Rob, the only man not to set time, rounds out the grid in 17th place. That's a great shame for Patters, that 5th place grid penalty. We've been in a great position to start this race, but now has to contend with a spot in 7th. And of all places to get a grid penalty, this definitely is not the one. So how's the weather look then for this race? Are we working with wet conditions or dry? Let's find out. Looks like a lovely sunny day in Monte Carlo. So now we'll see some interesting strategy choices. Does anyone dare cross the Hypersofts? They are a notoriously poor race tyre. Fantastic qualifying tyre, but a very poor race tyre. Does anyone take the gamble in an effort to make up some spots off the start? I imagine the majority of the field will be choosing the ultra soft tyre over the super soft, I think, but you'll see a lot of that red wall tyre about as well. Let's find out if the drivers select their tyres and their strategies. Can't imagine weather will play a factor in the race, but so many other things will. The formation lap is go. So the majority of drivers selecting the super soft and padders. I was going to say, I thought he didn't have his grid penalty applied, but he is there. Danskar plays. They're all on the supers. John and Smudge. On ultras, Murdoch, Baza, the two Mercedes, going for ultras, or for supers rather. Alex on ultras. Then the rest of the field, all the way down to Crazy Flying Rob on supers, who has selected the Hypersoft. He's the only driver to select the Hypersofts, and he's at the back of the grid. So, going to be looking at his start with particular interest. But at the front, I think, well, you're going to have to settle in for a long race this one if you're watching, because we're not going to see any pit stops for a long time. Assuming, of course, there is no damage, and oh, there will be damage. There will be damage. Not surprising, though, that many avoiding the hypers. You do your research of the races, and you understand very quickly that the Hypersoft is a ghastly tyre to be on. But Rob in last place. I suppose you may as well take the risk, really. You are in last. It can't get too much worse other than a retirement, so why not try something different? Ultras may have sufficed, given that everyone's on supers, but of course he wasn't to know that. And he's gone for the ultra aggressive Hypersoft. They will last 5 or 6 laps, possibly 7 if you're good on your tyres. After that, it's a difficult one, but I think, to be honest, a lot of overtaking here will be done in the pit lane, as the damage of front wings mounts, and they think there will be a lot of it. Hoping for a nice clean start, clean lap one. The drivers were warned pre-race about lap one etiquette around Monte Carlo in general, tips around Monaco. This is of course a very tough race on the F1 calendar. How will they handle it though? And in the best seat on pole position, and away they go. That's a terrible start for Anne, looking at an absolute monster start for Danskar. No suggestion of a jump start there as he leaps ahead up to the lead. Oh, there's into the wall already though. He's actually damaged his wing, so great start, but he's damaged his wing already, and debris is flying up the hill. There's contact between John and Baza. Luckily, both still in the race at high speed heading up the hill. Very dangerous stuff indeed as they file their way through Casino very, very cautiously, and towards Lowe's hairpin for the first time. Any crazy dive bombs? Got Ferrari, got Maramessi and Jacko side by side. Jacko sneaking through, always making contact with the, oh, it does make contact with the other Toro Rosso, that's Crumpet rather, making contact with Maramessi. Thankfully wasn't sent into a spin, but Danskar is facing the wrong way at the top of the hill, having had an absolutely incredible start. He's clattered the wall of Saint Davos, and that amazing start has been undone as they make their way through the swimming pool for the first time. Alex, oh, there's contact between Alex and Jacko, and further contact as Maramessi tries to sneak through. Absolute carnage through sector 2, and Alex has lost a lot of ground here early on. So not exactly the cleanest start in the world. Do we have any early pit stops? Alex will make a stop. Going to replace that front wing. Anyone else? Danskar comes into the pits as well. So a very interesting lap one then. And there's Ant leading away by 1.8 seconds. Plays and Smudge very close together as they head their way down the hill. Just settling into this race. 39 laps. Gotta pick and choose your spots around the streets of Monte Carlo. Beautiful camera shot from the back of Plays, and you have to forgive the timing screens, they are incorrect. Danskar is definitely not leading this race. And there's Ant. Patter is looking to put the pressure on Dogs and John and Baza. As the time machines begin to rearrange themselves. Now penalties will be a big issue here as well. As you see, saw Baza mountain that curb and continuing to set the pace. 14-3, leading by 2 seconds. We've got a very close battle here though between Padders and Dogs. DRS not enabled. Of course it is enabled on lap 3, so now for Padders, next time around in the DRS zone, he will be able to press that button and hope that it will aid him in an overtake down the start finish straight. Of course, easier said than done. Meanwhile, another clash of the wall for Crumpet. Not sure if that did any further damage to his wing, but he is getting frustrated, being stuck behind that Toro Rosso of Mar Messi. Jacko just in front of him does have wing damage as well. Time screens are absolutely having an absolute mare. Come on board with Padders as he chases down Dogs for P8. Should have been a lot higher up the field, should Padders, but that collision with Mar Messi in qualifying gave him a 5-place drop, and that is the reason he finds himself in this current predicament. Oh, clatters the wall, and to be honest, that left hand side of his wing is already missing. So, not fantastic for the Sauber driver, as Smudge getting very close to the back of plays. Not able to make an overtake this time. How about Padders though? DRS this time to help him. It's a very short straight, and no way through this time round. So you can expect to see a lot of that as AOR Gizmo comes into the pits. He's going to be replacing a front wing. Ultrasofts at the ready. Oh, mistake for Insane Rampage coming up the hill. He's made a bit of contact with the outside barrier, I should say, and that allows Rob to nip through. And that's another position for Rob. He's up to 12th now. Don't mind this timing screens. They have an absolute mare. He's in 12th now, ahead of Insane Rampage, and now can set off after Crumpet as Plays has retired from the session. Oh, he's clattered the wall, the barrier on the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane. Now, this latest patch from Codemasters promised more safety cars in multiplayer. Will there be one thrown out for that? Doesn't look like it at the current moment. And that is a desynced car for sure, because Dan's car is definitely not ahead of Ant's. Oh, and he's got round, so the desync has taken them out. Oh, and there's been Sheeny Mac, absolute clattering of that McLaren by Smudge. Didn't look like it to give him any damage though, so I don't know what's going on. It's absolute carnage. The desync is absolutely real, as cars are just going basically through. They're going through that McLaren as if he wasn't there at all. No damage, no wheels flying off. Well, absolute bizarre situation going on with that McLaren of Dan Scar. And there you go, it's popping now into 12th place, so that's where he is at the moment. Though it's hard to say, this time screen's have an absolute mare, so I can only apologise. Not really my fault, but again, not much I can do. And looking at that front wing of that Sauber, I think it's fair to say that is looking worse than it did one lap ago. As Insane Rampage looks like he's nipped by Dan Sky into 12th. He's just behind Rob now, so Rob I think is beginning to feel the pain on these hypersoft tyres. Again, they're only good for a few laps, and after that you wish you'd never had them at all. And Insane Rampage trying to find his way through at the Nouvelle Chicane, one of the few overtaking opportunities. Couldn't get it done cleanly there, luckily didn't seem to result in any damage, as Padders picks up a 5-second stop-go penalty for speed in the pit lane. So he's coming in for a stop, as is Mara Messi. Quickly check if they're changing wings. They both have wing damage, yes, so that's what they'll be doing. Rob coming into the pits to replace those hypersofts. He does have wing damage as well. I'm not sure if that was caused by Insane Rampage, but anyways, that moves them up. Oh, that's way too quick. He is extremely lucky not to be missing any of that front wing right now. Is Insane Rampage. He got into Santavot way too hot, and extremely lucky that A, his four wheels are intact, and B, that his wing isn't damaged, but he is pushing. As you can tell, Danskar is on the faster Ultra Sauce behind him. Of course, I've already made a stop after his incident on lap 1, having taken the lead into the first corner, clattered the wall, couldn't slow down in time, and damaged the majority of his front wing. So as is the case with Monaco, the race kind of, you have the first few laps are quite tight, and as damage and everything goes on, as John is into the pits and he's to replace the front wing, so as all this happens, the field does spread out quite a lot, and usually you can get uneventful races in Monaco for that very reason, because the field does spread out quite significantly. Patter's looking to get by Dan's car. Oh, that's, again, we know that car is desynced, so it is impossible to know what's actually going on in the race of Dan's car. It really is absolutely impossible. You know what, Alex just behind Insane Rampage, getting closer. You have a look into turn one. No, not quite. But that back end of Insane Rampage really struggling on the exit of Santa Vot. And this allowed them Patters to get into the mix as well. Here's an interesting little train. There's Mara Messi, there's Morris Minor, and the lagged, desynced car of Dan's car by the looks of it. Go back to this battle though, for P9 rather. Oh, and Insane Rampage has understeered into the wall at lows, and unfortunately the ghosting system has not helped Alex. He's run into the back of him, and that has damaged his wing, and obviously Insane Rampage's wing will also be damaged after. That's a shame for him and for this little battle that was going on to end like that. Meanwhile, for the final podium spot, the two Mercedes quite close together, just 6/10 separating Baza from Murdoch for P3. Both on super softs, both on very similar strategies. So interesting to see how they play this one. Yellow flag in sector 3. Not sure that was 4, but looks like everything is all clear now. Go back to this battle for third. Hasn't always worked out for the Mercedes team this year. A couple of races where external circumstances like connection and such affected them, and they haven't been able to get the results that they feel they should have had. But they're running very well here at Monaco so far. Lap 8 of 39. And they're running in third and fourth, which give them a very nice handful of points for the constructors if things remain as they are. But of course a long way to go yet before any of that comes to pass. At the front meanwhile, I mean, Ant is looking extremely comfortable at the moment. His wing is still there. He's leading Smudge by 9 seconds, and then for 11 seconds back then is this little battle then for third between the two Mercedes. So sadly, as is the case at Monaco, field spreads out very quickly, and Ant could come in right now and probably pit. He could almost get himself ahead of these two Mercedes as things stand. It does not take a ton of time to make a pit stop in Monaco. Very short pit lane, despite the speed at which you take it at, as Patters is into the pits. So he's replacing that front wing and serving a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding into the pit lane for the first time. So there you go then. This is Murdoch looking a little bit closer to his teammate this time round. But the great question that is always arisen at Monaco is how, where can you overtake? Very difficult. See how the cautiousness that Murdoch is driving that Mercedes around Monaco. I think it is just a matter of him just playing the long game, and his teammate can make little mistakes like that, and it's given him a fantastic run down the inside. I think actually Baza may have let him through, to be fair. Sorry, I got my L2 and R2 mixed up there for a second. And Murdoch did run quite aggressively across that curb at Sandavot. Probably would have got a warning for that. But that is then Murdoch ahead of Baza then. And now can he drive away for a start? And if so, how much of a gap can he bridge over his teammate? He's in the position now. So let's see what he can do with the open space in front of him. 12 seconds separates him and Smudge from second place. And a lot further than that separates Ant from Smudge. We could just watch this some more. If we're ever lacking for entertainment in this race, we could just watch the desynced car of Dan's car as other cars just hit it out of the way. As Smudge is coming into the pit and he's missing part of the front wing, so maybe, again, it's impossible to tell where that car is. I think maybe did Smudge maybe collect some damage on the back of that car? Not too sure, but he's put on the super softs, replacing that front wing. So we'll promote Murdoch and Baza into podium spots. Run second and third. Where will he come out in comparison to Dogs? I think Dogs might get the jump on Smudge. He will, and John will do the same thing and sets the fastest lap in the process. 14 flat. He's making up time on Dogs, of course, who's on older tyres, and Smudge will pop into a very handy P6 ahead of Jacko. And the other Ferrari, Mr. Crumpet, is coming into the pits to change the entirety of that front wing, which is no longer on this car. Ooh, Dogs, I think Dogs has had a chat with a wall somewhere, because now he is behind John and with wing damage, and John was a few seconds or so behind him, which is a second or two, so I think he's definitely had an incident somewhere. And John's capitalised, and John moves up into fifth and now can sit off after these two Mercedes. You see Murdoch has begun to build a bit of a gap over his teammate, and that certainly won't help Baza, because he's now picked up wing damage, and the gap will surely fall further then to Murdoch, and John should be able to start closing in. Rob into the pits again and is sped into the pit lane. So a number of those incidents already in this race for speeding into the pit lane. It's a very sharp one, and if you're not paying attention, it will definitely catch you out. Lap 12 of 39, and already has a 28-second lead over Murdoch. So this is kind of how things go around Monaco. Things do spread out very quickly, as everyone just either the faster cars in front pull away, and then the wing damage and pit stops then come into it as well. I think Murdoch has sustained some damage as well on the car, on the back of Dan's car. I don't know, but I do know that Dan's car is not in fourth. Well, Smudge closing up to the back of Dogs. Of course, Smudge has just made a pit stop, and Dogs, we know, is nursing wing damage, so this shouldn't be. If Smudge can get a good run out of Anthony Noakes, the final corner, he'll be in a good position to make an overtake on Dogs, but has to be careful that the dirty air doesn't understeer him into one of these walls. That will result in wing damage, and that won't help either, running into the back of Dogs and sustaining wing damage. You saw that piece of carbon fibre flying through the air, and that is Smudge with wing damage. And can he get by Dogs though? Oh, very close there between, as AOR Gizmos just emerged from the pits. They almost collected them, the two, the Renault and the Force India, so close call there for the pair of them. Seem to have gotten away with it this time around, but definitely a close call. And something people have to be very wary of leaving the pits is that if you're on the inside line, it's not, the pit lane exit in Monaco is not on the racing line like it is in France, but it's very, very close. If you're trying to either go defensive or sneak down the inside, it can definitely catch you off guard. Well, John and Baza has just let him go, hasn't he? So John's been flying these last few laps on those fresh super softs, and Baza, we know, has wing damage, and Baza did not fight that through the tunnel, and that puts John up into third. And Dogs is out of the race, and there it is on the entrance of the tunnel. He has lost it, so I can only imagine he's clipped that curb somehow, but that's a very strange one indeed, how his car's ended up in there that far away from the barrier as Baza comes into the pit, and again no safety car for that. So this update, Codemasters promised more safety cars in multiplayer. It's not really coming true, is it? At this stage, 2 accidents on the racing line and no safety car, so good stuff as always. So Baza emerged from the pits, and he's just going to come out in front of Insane Rampage. Got Jacko and Alex in the pits then as well. So Ultrasofts going on to that. that Ferrari and on that Haas as well. As Murdoch, oh, and there's been, well, first of all, Mr. Crumpet's out of the race, but I think Murdoch has missed the chicane, and possibly as a result of going side by side with John, and John's moved up into second place ahead of Murdoch. Murdoch was going very slow out of that Nouvelle chicane, wasn't he? So not too sure what's happened there, but John has moved up there into second and can get cracking on the 35-second lead that Ant Attack has, as Murdoch comes into the pits and he's going to change his wing and put on a set of ultras, and they won't go to the end, you know. This is the thing with people who pitted so early, is that these tyres shouldn't go to the end of the race. So we're going to be seeing a lot more pit stops between now and the end of this race, for sure. So where is it? Baz has then come across the start-finish line, and Jacko has retired. Oh, on the exit of the tunnel. So both Ferraris are now out, and that's another incident without a safety car. Absolute scenes as Alex smashes into the wall and damages his wing through to back. So it is all kicking off. This has not been a very clean race, as you could probably expect from Monaco. The attrition rate is high, and in these last few laps it's gotten, we've seen a number of drivers fall victim to the walls here. Murdoch did emerge in front of his teammate Baza, and they were as they were, basically. They are as they were, just a second or so separating the two. Murdoch in front of his teammate. Looks like it is the closest battle on track at the moment. Everything else is spread out significantly, as you can see, if the gap between first and second is any indication. But of course we know that Ant has not made a pit stop yet. Him and Insane Rampage are the only ones to have not stopped yet. I think they have the right idea to, even as Insane Rampage is, well, has lost more of his front wing but limps on with damage, get to your pit window. Just minimise the amount of pit stops you have to make. As I have the time screens all over the place, so you have to forgive me for looking at some stuff where it's just absolutely everywhere. But I think Insane Rampage has the right idea. Just kind of limp on with the damage and just get to your window. Just make the one stop, even if you've got wing damage, just make the one and see where you end up. Because I mean, I'd assume that Baza, Murdoch, Smudge, maybe not Smudge, possibly John, all have to pit again. But maybe not John and Smudge, but I think Murdoch and Baza on those ultra stops, their wear is going to be really, really poor near the end if they stay out on these tyres. Alright, so just get to the pit window and you'll be in good shape. That McLaren, man, still going. The desync is still strong. Beautiful helicopter shot of Monaco. Some people prefer to race this at night. I disagree. This track is much better in the daytime. Look how close these two are. Wing damage looks okay. Doesn't look like any damage. So this is a nice little battle between the two Mercedes for fourth place rather at the time. Of course, Dan's car we know is not anywhere near these two or in front of anyone. As Insane Rampage now does come into the pits. So lap 18 he has carried those supers, changes his wing, and those ultras will be tired, but they could in theory go to the end of the race. It's a long way to ask your supers to go, but I have seen them go 20 odd laps, so it is possible. But you're going to have to be careful. Where is he going to appear? Morris Minor flashes by, and he's going to nip out just ahead of Insane Rampage. That's not good news for Insane Rampage. He needs a nice clear track to making use of this set of ultra softs. He's run into traffic in the form of Morris Minor, who himself is on 4 lap of ultras himself, so not too much difference between the two in terms of tyres, but that could easily be the difference between making another stop for Morris and possibly Insane going to the end of the race. We shall find out. Meanwhile, the battle for 5th continues. Very, very close, these two. This is going to be fun to watch. as teammates, do they dare even attack? We saw kind of how Baza kind of let Murdoch go the first time. Well, will the favour be repaid, or will they race it out and risk possibly an accident? As Padders comes into the pits, I think that's his third stop for Padders, and he'll serve another 5-second penalty. Where will he emerge? Must have served it already. My mistake. He's coming in. Fresh Limb Ultras change that front wing, and he'll be on his merry way. So, Mercedes pair approaching. Some traffic, I believe that is AOR Gizmo. It is indeed. Paris emerges in P11 and Smudge is into the pit, so I thought Smudge might not be able to get to the end. He's going to have to come in for a pit stop and a wing change, and is sent back out on Ultra Softs. So these two will jump him then. That's Murdoch into third and Baza then into fourth. And Mara Messi will not overtake Smudge, so into sixth place, or fifth place rather, Smudge will emerge. And he can set off after these two Mercedes to see if he can get anything into the pair of them. Although I think Baza had actually dropped off a bit of Murdoch this last lap and a half or so. Gap around 2 seconds. As the navigation lows here for the 20th time. And meanwhile, it's just commanding this race at the front. 19th time I should say, because Ant is... He is a minute ahead. So they're just coming out of the tunnel. Ant is in the tunnel. So that's how dominant Ant has been here today. He started from the front, he's been the most consistent, he has not picked up any wing damage, and he is stuck to his stint of one stop. He's the only man not to make a stop, so he's been in pure command. And unless something like Australia happens again where he retires from a dominant position, he's looking very, very good. But how long now does he wait until he makes his stop? He's carrying on for another lap, and the gap has really extended now between the two Mercedes. Almost 3 seconds, and Smudge beginning to make inroads as well on the pair, but more so Baza, who has dropped off significantly these last 2 laps now. There is a battle on track at the moment though. It is Insane Rampage on Morris Minor. Of course we knew that this wasn't the best news for Insane Rampage, emerging from the pits just behind on a fresh set of Ultras. He's got within the DRS range now. He'll be looking to get by as soon as possible. Nothing really on into turn 1. He had to bide his time, as is often the case. Alex on the back of Mar Messi. Well, he's got wing damage. Will that matter? In an attempt to overtake that Toro Rosso, we shall see. So a few battles now have emerged. Lap 21. This is good to see that there are still some battles for some meaningful positions. Yellow flag in sector 3. Could be anyone really. Oh, and Alex is into the wall, and there's some lag going on as well. So no idea what happened there. He definitely was not close enough to Mara Messi when we left, so I can't imagine that's what's happened. Possibly a loss of traction, but there has certainly been a loss of front wing, so that ends that battle in a in a hurry. Does allow Morris Minor and Insane Rampage to nip through. Extra position for them, and they can continue their battle. And Mara Messi is just up the road here as well, so we're going to see a 3-car battle for P6 at the moment, or any moment rather. Morris Minor was hugging that outside barrier, wasn't he? Got very, very close to it. Almost allowed Insane Rampage to have a sneak down the inside, but nothing doing. As Alex goes into the pits to replace that front wing and puts on a set of Ultra Softs. To the point now we're putting on used sets of Ultras, so that's kind of how things have gone. That many pit stops, you're putting on a used set. So a 3-car battle then for 6th place. Mara Messi, Morris Minor and Insane Rampage. Mara Messi carrying those tyres, 15 laps on those ultras, he'll have to stop again. And Morris Minor just a few more laps on his ultras than Insane Rampage, and Antatak is finally into the pits, and he is emerging from his stop on ultras, and he will go to the end of the race. I'm trying to check if there's a yellow flag in sector 3, so he obviously will emerge, and a clear track in front of him, just utter domination, and he could just nurse this set to the end of the race. He's looking extremely good for this race win. And Morris Minor comes into the pits, so that ends that battle between him and Insane Rampage, putting on a set of super softs. And Smudge is out of the race. Smudge has retired, not too sure where on the track. It's not through Portier, it's not through Swimming Pool. I've no idea where he retired, but he's out of the race. Let's see when Mara Messi drives past. He moves up into 5th, we'll know where he retired if his car is not there. I suspect it's on the exit of this chicane. Indeed it was, so that's where he retired. No safety car once again. And the battle still ensues. P5 now at this stage. No safety car still, that's incredible. Oh, the door was kind of open there for say Rampage. Luckily for him he didn't commit, and Mara Messi comes into the pits then to replace those ancient Ultra Softs. He's had a good stint on that set, and in he comes in. If you can get 16 out of that set, you can certainly get 15 out of this final set. Or 14 rather, because I'm sure he's a lap down. And Patter's going into the pits for the 4th time, I believe. I saw a screenshot from a friend sent me from another league of someone who did 16 stops in Monaco. So if you think 3 or 4 or 5 is a lot, trust me, you haven't seen anything. Mara Messi emerged in P7, just ahead of Alex. So Alex pitted a few laps ago with that wing damage. She was just behind Mara Messi, and now he still finds himself behind that Toro Rosso. We're well over halfway now through this race, settling into the final third as Ant sets the fastest lap, 1:12.5. So Alex has closed up to Mara Messi on a few occasions, but hasn't been able to get by for real. Can he do so? And how quickly, as John comes into the pits. So from 2nd place, John is making his final stop. And Sev Ultrasauce will come onto that car. And where is Murdoch? He should come out ahead of Murdoch. And he'll certainly come out ahead of Baza, so it should be relatively straightforward. He'll emerge back into that 2nd place as Murdoch just rounding Anthony Nogues now. So important for John that he did emerge in front of that little battle between Mara Messi and Alex. Last thing you need, not that it really mattered because he's not fighting anyone, is John, but you don't really want to emerge into a battle between backmarkers. Not something that is particularly good for anyone, the people involved in the battle, and of course yourself trying to get through. But of course there is, once you're shown the blue flags, you are obliged to step aside and let the leading car come through. So down the tunnel they chase again. It hasn't really closed up as I thought he might have as Alex. Oh, Mara Messi thought he'd be a little bit closer to the back of that Toro Rosso, getting close and ready to shape himself up for a move, but nothing doing yet. Of course he needs to give himself the best run possible out of Anthony Nogues or out of Portier heading down the tunnel. Best he can, and again nothing really doing. He's going to be too far back to get anywhere close to making a move, so his wing looks fine. So just struggling to close up to the back of that Toro Rosso. As Baza comes into the pits. Now Baza, I did notice, did have a bit of wing damage, and he's only increased that a bit more now. But he should easily come out in front of Insane Rampage, who's only coming to the tunnel now. So really, Baza loses absolutely nothing by making this pit stop. So he'll emerge into the most comfortable P4 you could possibly imagine. And Murdoch, 7 seconds behind John, but of course is just pitted for a fresh set of the Ultra Sauce, and out comes Baza. And there you go, comfortable 4th place. Insane Rampage only rounding or coming down across the start finish line right now. We'll go back then to Alex, continuing to chase down Mara Messi. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello. I see a few of the comments, and there's some frustration for sure. Apparently there's a safety car deployed in ILR5. That's good to know. What would be good for Alex to know is that he's much closer to Mara Messi. Very, very close, unable to make a move though. We have a squirmy exit from Mara Messi heading up the hill. And can Alex get close to make a move? Again, park your car in the middle of the track. It's very hard to get anywhere near an overtake, but Mara Messi really struggling. That wing looks fine. So just this last lap, he's just struggling with those tyres. And now Alex sensing a real opportunity now to take this P7 off of Mara Messi's hands. It's interesting here that the ILR5 has had a safety car, but we've had multiple crashes on the racing line here, and not a single thing, not a damn thing. Safety car would really spice. Well, that's the question to ask. Would it spice it up? Everyone would basically come into the pits, and you still can't overtake. So all it changes is the tyres. Everyone's got fresh tyres, and not really track position there. Some might not. Some drivers probably wouldn't pit, but most of them would. Oh, that's a collision with the wall for Mara Messi. Is that a damaged wing? DRS open for Alex, and again, he's just too far back when it matters most to make an overtake. Let's get an update on this McLaren, shall we? Yep, seems about right. On top of this as well, though, it should be noted that these two are catching Morris Minor for 7th. So despite their struggles, Mara Messi seems to be struggling a bit with the rear of that car, and Alex obviously stuck behind Mara Messi. They are still catching the guys in front, and now he's in that DRS range as Mara Messi, and that will help him hugely in this battle, because even if Alex gets close, he's got DRS himself now to defend should it come to that. But look at that, he is dying to get past. There's just no way through on the streets of Monte Carlo. They are just, Alex is just crawling, and Mara Messi, they're just crawling through a swimming pool. And look, I guess they understand that what they have. Oh, and he's lost the back end as Alex is doing very well to keep that out of the wall as Murdoch is into the pits. So almost a full lap ahead of this group. Murdoch comes in for another stop, and he should emerge ahead of his teammate. So Alex did very well there to avoid making contact with the wall after the rear was kicked out. Couldn't have Anthony Noakes. I'm assuming, of course, Alex is using no ABS, no traction. Just caught a bit of it, and even Padders is now catching up to the back of this as well. So don't know what happened between, because all of a sudden now Morris is 2 seconds behind Morris, and Alex, we know why he's 2 seconds behind. Yellow flag in sector 2. Looks like nothing to me. Shout out to Rob, still going on. 1 lap down, the car in front of him. Oh, and there's a bunch of debris scattering across the track as Alex has made contact with a barrier somewhere, and Padders nips through, and Mara Messi is crawling And there goes Padders in front wing. Oh, and he's trying to force his way through. And he does, but that is not a clean move whatsoever by Padders. Absolutely bullying his way through to get through Mara Messi there. That's not very clean racing. I think the stewards will be looking into that one afterwards, because he really has just damaged his own wing, basically pushed Mara Messi out the way to get that move done. So not particularly fantastic racing there. But for the moment it does move Padders into 8th place, 5 seconds behind his teammate, and struggling is Mara Messi, and that's why Alex has nipped through. But oh, and Alex has punted into the wall at Mirabeau, so he couldn't slow the car down in time. And that was surprising just to see from on board of Mara Messi. Just the car just in front of him just completely stopped as he made contact with that barrier. Luckily, he is extremely lucky that he has not taken the wheel off that Haas. Really, really lucky. And to be honest, you could be saying that multiple times this race. And he probably, oh, but not so lucky that time. There it goes through the tunnel, understeered, and that is his race over. He was flirting with it, and on lap 31 it has finally come to pass. And let me guess, that is still not a safety car. That is ludicrous. But meanwhile, it continues. These two Mercedes have been pretty close this entire race, bar obviously when they made their pit stops. Murdoch still ahead of Baza, 1.6 seconds separating them. With that retirement, then that moves ILR Gizmo. We've had a quiet race, to be fair. 2 stops, 17 laps on those ultras. I'm sure there might be a third stop to come, and he'd be fine to do that because he's a million miles ahead of Rob, and he's significantly behind his teammate as well. So I'm sure he's got free license to do just that. And he wouldn't be losing out too much. Lap 32 then. This race has actually gone by better than I thought it would. It was very separated, and it kind of still is. But there's been enough to talk about for filler, so cheers, lads. Still shocked that there's been no safety car. 5 or 6 accidents have taken place now where really any of them happen in real life and a safety car is being deployed. And I think you just saw there Baza kind of make contact with the barrier Portier, and I think that has damaged his wing, and he's missed the braking zone entirely. And that'll earn him a well-earned 3-second penalty. Didn't make much of an effort to really slow down once he cut the corner, and a 3-second penalty is about fair for that. But really struggling. He's cut a lot of corners tonight, I've noticed. Well, these two Mercedes have, shall we say, abused the regular corner cutting that is in place. I think that's fair to say. So cross the line, begin their 32nd lap, I should say, because really, and is just on another level. Everyone, bar John, has been lapped. Everyone up to 2nd place has been lapped. That kind of tells you everything you need to know about this race in terms of from the front. The mystery is still, I have no idea. Did he lead the session? Did Danskar lead the session? I genuinely have no idea. He's been squirming in that pit lane for the last 10 laps, it seems. We could just watch this for a little bit. So, 2 Sabers getting quite close to each other. Patters is ahead of Morris, who has wing damage. They both have wing damage, to be fair. So Saber looking for some decent points in 7th and 8th. Mercedes looking very well for constructors' points in 4th and 5th. Or sorry, 3rd and 4th. Let's give them a nice result indeed. And again, doing the heavy lift in that Red Bull, the full 25 points. He's looking at, and again, just a model of consistency in this race. Front wing intact. And let's take a look at the lap times actually, because I'm curious to see what his lap times have been. So they've kind of been here, there, and everywhere, but at this stage he can he can lap in the 20s from now to the end of the race, and he'd still win this one. Like, it's just been that kind of race for him. Absolutely dominant. He But I can't help but think, of course, Pinsky was moved up to ILR5. That's why he's not here and why he wasn't mentioned in the standings. He's been moved up a tier. Kind of wonder what the situation would be if he was leading this race. Would Ant be close to him? It does make you wonder. But alas, that is not the case. And I'm just thinking out loud. He is still leading by 40 plus seconds and he begins lap 35. While everyone else, bar John, is chilling on lap 34. Race really begin to wind down now. We are in the 90%. So if you retire now, if you were to retire from this race, you would still be classified as 90% finishing. So, but of course at this stage, really, I think everyone who's finishing, bar Danskar again, your guess is as good as mine, where he is. And you know what? Hold on, let's change to a car. Let's just for giggles, let's just see what lap times he's doing. Because I assume he is actually driving, but I mean, just his car is obviously just not where we think it is. He could be anywhere. He really could be, and I've said that 1,000 times tonight, but really, that's just how it is. He could be anywhere, position-wise. He could be third for. He could well be third for all we know. I don't know. I really don't know. He's been first. He's been it's just genuinely so hard to know. So I'm sure the stewards will sort it out, but we shall see. Lap 36. Not a ton left to say at this stage. Not a ton. 5 seconds is the nearest gap between any of the cars. There's Baza from his teammate, who is riding with wing damage. Mar Messi is tiptoeing on those ultras, and his teammate, to be fair, is doing a stellar job with those ultras. 21 laps he's taken those. That's a quick shout out to Insane Rampage. I think he's done exceptionally well. I think he's had the best approach of anyone bar Ant in the sense, because even though he had damage, and he has damage again now on that left side, you can see he just stayed out on his set and just waited until his pit window, just dealt with the damage, didn't increase it anymore, didn't run into any additional barriers to get further damage to the point where a full front wing change would have been needed. Kept going, went to his pit window, pitted, and has come out on those ultras. And again, he does have damage, but he is going to finish in 5th place, barring any other circumstances. And I think he's had the right idea in terms of how to navigate damage around Monaco. He and Ant are the only ones to have done the one stop. Many as 4 stops for Patter and 4 for Rob, who I think has had 2 stints on the Hypersofts, which is very interesting indeed. In terms of position changes, he's the highest gainer out of everyone here, up 9 places. Up 10 places rather, because I think he is actually in 5th. Down from 16th. Morris Minor, another high riser as well. And Murdoch and Baz have done well as in addition, so a lot of good drives out there today, considering in terms of result. Obviously not fantastic drives in terms of how many times they've pitted and wing damage and as such, but that won't matter. All that matters is getting to the checkered flag, and looks like 11 of the 17 drivers are actually going to make it to the end of this race, so fair play to the lads tonight. I expected a lot more casualties around this track, although it's never too late, is it? Penultimate lap now, and has started lap 38, and there's a yellow flag somewhere, but of course probably for absolute knout, as has been the case for some of the night. "23 laps now, those ultras have gone." He's done a very good job, has Gizmo, in terms of getting those tyres, stretching those tyres. He's running 9th, or so we believe. Actually, let's just take a look. He's 2 laps down, Rob 3 laps down. everyone from Mars Minor down is 2 laps down. Excuse me, so just speaks. No, I don't have to say too much more about Ant. Everything's been covered really. It's been a fantastic drive. Really has been. And he starts now the final lap of this race. We'll ride on board with him because there's nothing else going on. Final lap of this Monaco Grand Prix in ILR6. As he climbs up the hill. Sandavosh one last time. And through Massenet. On the right hand side, the casino square, the casino on the right hand side, charges down the hill, avoids the bump in the road towards Mirabeau, hugs that line, down towards the Lowe's hairpin, knock it down into first gear, take the curb if you need to, slowly but surely as you approach the seafront through Portier, and blast through the tunnel one last time. Let the lights flicker around you and surround you as you exit the tunnel, as you slow down the hill to the Nouvelle chicane, taking the curb on that one as well, and then you throw it into Tabac. Of course, no need for Ant to do such things, leading the race. The 37 gap lead through a swimming pool section, through the chicane, and one last time through Rascasse, and now the final corner. Ant navigates. Anthony Noakes has been Anthony Noakes more so tonight. It's been a fantastic drive from Ant. He wins the Monaco Grand Prix by an absolute landslide. Everyone else from here on out will just kind of finish whenever they cross the line. We'll go with John though, of course, because everyone else, of course, is a lap or multiple laps down. So John will be the next to actually finish in terms of not being lapped. He's the only driver not to be lapped today by Ant. So good job from him, and he rounds the final corner and down the straight he goes to pick up a well-earned second place. A good job from Ant. Next across the line will be Insane Rampage. I believe this will be for 5th. Stewards will have to confirm because Dan's car, again, if you're making note of this, that's all you need to see right there, and that's been the story for a long time now. Brilliant drive from Insane Rampage, limped through the damage and did the one stop very well indeed. Patters finishes 7th, and we'll have Gizmo and Rob Wen will finish out the Monaco Grand Prix. And there you go. Absolutely dominant display by Ant today. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Retakes the lead in the drivers' standings. And what a drive to do it with. Hoist that trophy. He's done. To be honest, we saw his lap times. He saw kind of how he was holding back in a sense as well, because obviously John was gaining time on them. We saw how slow the lap times were as well by Ant. So really, this could have been a lot more. The margin of victory really could have. So it is Ant ahead of John in 2nd. I believe Murdoch is actually in 3rd, Baza 4th, Insane Rampage 5th, Patter 6th, Mars Meyer 7th, Naramessi 8th, Aero Gizmo 9th, Crazy Rob 10th. I've, again, no idea where Dan's car is. We saw what the story of his car was, so not too sure. We lost a lot of drivers from this race. Not as many as I thought we would, but a significant amount nevertheless. No unserved stop goes, so that's all good. So, fortunately, I won't be any podium interviews today. I have to shoot off. But if you have watched this far of ILR6 Monaco, thank you. It wasn't an easy one, I'm sure, but hopefully there was something in the race that kept you going. So that's going to do it for ILR6, round 6 at Monaco. Next up at 8 o'clock, there is, of course, ILR3 and ILR4, whichever takes your fancy, around the same track, Monaco. See how they get on. So until next time.